got you updated. This is Radio Manzi News in English.
Good evening, you are tuned to Radio Imanzi broadcasting from Kigali. Here is the news in English brought to you by Fiona Umuganwa. The headlines. President Paul Kagame arrived in Zambia this morning. The late Dr. Paul Farmer's colleagues have shown that he was a good example for different people. Kagame has announced a net profit of 17.7 billion Rwandan francs, up from 13.7 billion in 2020. Russia faces global outrage over bodies in Ukraine's streets. Welcome to the news in detail now. President Paul Kagame arrived in Zambia's touristic capital Livingstone this morning for a two-day state visit and was received by his Zambian counterpart, President Hakainde Hichilema. The heads of states held tete-a-tete talks before having a bilateral meeting with members of their delegations. President Paul Kagame and President Hichilema later presided over the signing of 7 bilateral agreements on taxation, immigration, health, investment, promotion, agriculture, fisheries, and livestock. Prime Minister Edward Ngirente has indicated that the government has been doling out subsidies in order to help farmers to access chemical fertilizers at a relatively low cost in the midst of rising prices. He observed on Monday while presenting government actions related to agriculture inputs to the plenary session of both chambers of parliament. The Premier told legislators that fertilizer prices rose drastically on the global market because of various factors. They include, he said, the COVID-19 pandemic effects which disrupted the supply chain, such as through rising the transport cost, major fertilizer producing countries that cut exports in a bid to increase their local agriculture production, as well as the hike in gas tariffs used as one of the raw materials in fertilizer manufacturing. Consequently, imported fertilizers were more expensive by the time they arrived on the local market. In a bid to continue promoting the use of fertilizers and supporting farmers to get access to them, Ngirente said the government has been increasing the budget for fertilizer subsidies as it more than doubled from 5 billion Rwandan francs in the fiscal year 2018-2019 to 13 billion Rwandan francs in the current fiscal year 2021-2022. According to accounts from some farmers, chemical fertilizers use significantly increases farm productivity, sometimes doubling and tripling it. The Premier talked about the construction of fertilizer blending factory, which it said would help Rwanda reduce reliance on fertilizer imports, though he pointed out that it would be importing some of the raw materials to use in producing these farm inputs. The Rwanda Basic Education Board, in collaboration with Rwanda Union of the Blind, officially launched today the Orbit Reader 20 as an identified EdTech solution to support the education of learners with visual impairment. Director General of Rwanda Education Board, Mbarushimana Nelson, says Orbit Reader 20 is one of the best EdTech solutions among other assistive technology devices which can help remove barriers to access to educational content. This EdTech solution will improve the education of learners with visual impairment and promote social inclusion and will bring groundbreaking access to books and educational content to learners, as well as transforming their independence and future life opportunities. Rwanda Education Board is committed to do whatever is necessary to ensure that each learner with visual impairment has their own Orbit Reader 20 or equivalent assistive device to take notes, edit files, study, and participate fully in educational processes. Providing innovative assistive digital braille devices and appropriate curriculum content in digital braille format is integral to improving and learning outcomes for students with visual impairment. The event brought together partners who are ready to support the implementation of special needs and inclusive education policy, the Marrakesh Treaty and SDG 4 Quality Education of 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, which prioritizes inclusive and equitable education and places a strong emphasis on ICT to deliver appropriate solutions to disadvantaged learners. The event was also an opportunity to discuss different ways of using technology to transform education and deliver life-changing opportunity for children with visual impairment in Rwanda, to advocate for each and every learner to have their own Orbit Reader 20. Edward Bamudi, State Minister in charge of culture in the Ministry of Youth, has tasked graduates of the first cohort of Art Rwanda Ubuhanzi to work towards making profit from their different talents. This, he said, is backed by the new policy that the ministry is polishing that will see players in the creative industry be able not only to showcase their art but also make a profitable living out of it. He made the remarks during the graduation commencement of the first cohort that consisted of 68 artists who successfully completed a one-year incubation program of the Art Rwanda Ubuhanzi project. The project, dubbed Nurture Your Talent, consists of a televised nationwide search and mentorship program for creative youth in 6 categories, namely music and dance, fashion, acting and drama, photography and cinematography, literature and plastic arts. Geraldine Umutesi, Deputy Director General of Imbuto Foundation, also charged the graduates to think about the legacy they are leaving behind as the first cohort for others that will follow. The graduation ceremony was marked with different stands where the artists showcased their works, and in attendance were various artists in the industry. The late Dr. Paul Farmer's colleagues have shown that he was a good example for different people, especially those who work in the medical field. They made the statements during the Requiem Mass to pray for his soul that took place at St. Michel's Cathedral Church in Kigali. The memorial mass was attended by Her Excellency the First Lady of Rwanda, Mrs. Janet Kagame, and over 600 friends and colleagues of the late Dr. Paul Farmer, including government officials, delegates from NGO and students, as well as staff from UGH and PIH, who all gathered to pay tribute to the global health champion, who most referred to as Muganga Mwiza, which means a good doctor. The event was filled with mixed emotions of sadness and gratitude as different speakers eulogized his life and how his compassionate deeds towards the sick and less fortunate saved the lives of many. Jean-Claude Rutaisiri, one of Dr. Farmer's former patients living with HIV, said meeting Muganga Mwiza was one of the best things that happened to him in his life. He recounted how he met Dr. Paul in 2005 with a team from PIH seeking to support people living with HIV and tuberculosis to receive medical assistance. Dr. Farmer and his team, believing in a holistic approach to care, worked around the clock to provide patients with not only ARVs but also food supplies, education assistance for their children, accommodation support, and medical insurance, along with other benefits. The University of Global Health Equity, located in Butaru Burera district, was founded by Dr. Paul Farmer, and it is in this area that the Butaro Cancer Center of Excellence was built with the participation of this professional doctor. Dr. Agnes Binagwawa, the Vice Chancellor of UGHE, has worked with Dr. Paul Farmer for more than 20 years since they first met in 2002. She emphasized that remembering and honoring him is an appreciation of his work in Rwanda.
Paul has left a mark in all our lives. Whether you meet him once, whether you assist to one of his lectures, or work with him many hours, or live with him 20 years of friendship, like I was honored to do. He connected with everybody in a second, no matter who they were, where they come from, the poorest or head of states, treating everyone with the same attention, love, respect. And that's how he has moved mountains, saving millions of lives. He had the gift to always see people in a holistic manner, as an anthropologist, but even without that, with his heart. He always sees everyone inside the system the person was living, understanding the challenges people faced, what influenced this individual life, and always how he can help. And I cannot begin to tell you how many times we discuss difficult subjects, how to change the world, but also how many times we spent together crying with laughter because he was a funny guy. And when I remember him, I remember that as well. So, from the bottom of my heart, I say how truly privileged I was and honored to have known him. He was so great that he can adapt his speech to be understood by anyone on earth. And he did so because he believed that everyone, regardless where you come from, who you are, deserve the best on earth. He always linked your right to health to the right to have a dignified life. His work and connection in Rwanda was profoundly felt. He did so well that he was recognized and honored by His Excellency, the President of the Republic, with the National Order of Outstanding Friendship. He loved this country, to the extent also that he always took with him, he took the nationality, and he always took with him his Rwandan passport in his pocket here, and used to say, "It is because it's near my heart." We will miss you, my friend Paul. May you forever live in our hearts and through our continued service for the most vulnerable that we committed to.
Unparalleled medical care, even for the poor, as well as betterment of the disadvantaged in general, are some of the things that awarded Dr. Paul Farmer a Friendship Medal by President Paul Kagame in 2019. Dr. Mungatad Sis, the Minister of State in charge of primary health care, also finds that Dr. Paul Farmer's efforts should be the legacy of many in Rwanda and elsewhere around the world.
In a situation like this, it is very difficult to find appropriate words to express our feelings. Dr. Paul Farmer was an extraordinary person. I met Paul Farmer in April 2009 when I started working at the Burera district to lead the district health services and the construction of the hospital, which was at the beginning stage. Everyone involved, including myself and the surrounding community, was very proud of the huge achievement we have already made in that remote area. Just after the inauguration, we started developing the current vision of the hospital based on the challenges highlighted by our president. Along long discussions and deliberation, we came up with the following vision. First, to serve as a center of excellence.
Falmer spent his last days with UGHE medical students, training them during their clinical rotations. Most of them have fond memories of him as an inspirational leader, transformative thinker, incredible teacher, mentor, friend, role model, activist, and a great advocate for equity. Kagame Credit and Savings Society has announced a net profit of 17.7 billion Rwandan francs, up from 13.7 billion in 2020. The results were announced on Monday during the bank's General Assembly held at the Defense Headquarters, Kimihurura. It was a successful year as the bank kept its growth, and we are optimistic that it will grow even more in the years to come. The bank's chairman of the board of directors, Dr. James Ndahiro, told the General Assembly. He pointed out that the main agenda of the meeting was to present to members the 2021 audited financial statements. He further thanked members for their continued support and collaboration. Kagame CSA's officials said continues to expand the use of IT services to facilitate its members for different transactions. For instance, in 2021, the digital services transactions were 96% and 4% cashier transactions. The financial cooperative highlighted that digital services currently available include mobile money, mobile application, ATM, USSD, SMS message to facilitate its members for different transactions. Kagame, which predominantly caters for members of the Rwanda Defense Force, Rwanda Correctional Service, Rwanda National Police, and Rwanda Investigation Bureau, has more than 90,000 members. Consequently, the bank has a target of raising its asset value or capital to $1 billion in the next 5 years from the current $280 million. Moving on ahead, the Rwanda Utilities Regulatory Authority has raised the prices for petrol and diesel, citing the volatility in the global oil market. The new prices, which took effect on Monday, mean that the pump for petrol has increased to 1,359 per litre from 1,256. Diesel has increased from 1,201 per litre to 1,368. Normally, the prices are reviewed every 2 months, which means upon the old price, the new ones were expected to be released on May 5th, according to RURA. The Director General of RURA, Dewo Muvunyi, revealed that the abnormal increase in prices of fuel on the international market was creating the fuel shortage and prompted the regulator to increase pump prices. Without government intervention by way of subsidies, prices of diesel and gasoline would have risen by 282 Rwandan francs and 218 respectively. The subsidies were introduced in May 2021 when global oil prices began going up after a sharp decline occasioned by reduced demand as a result of the COVID-19 related lockdowns and travel restrictions. According to RURA, the decision was also taken to avoid the negative consequences of exaggerated fuel price increases that would cause the generalized price increase and therefore decelerate the speed at which Rwanda's economy is recovering from the impact of the COVID-19 outbreak. We shall continue with some items of international news after the advertisement. Stay tuned.
Are you looking for the best language interpreting services for your next meeting, training workshop, or forum, in person or remotely? Look no further. Gemini Multimedia Limited offers high-quality and professional interpreting and document translation services in various fields of expertise. Based on the International Association of Conference Interpreters, AIC, and with a team of professionals with more than 10 years of experience in the field, you can rely on us for a smooth running of your next event. Locate Gemini Multimedia Limited on KG 14 Avenue 258 between Kagugu Health Center and Fawe Girls School. You can also call us on 0790-719-909 or visit www.geminimultimedia.org. Gemini Multimedia Limited. Speak clearly. Listen reliably.
Some items of international news on Radio Imanzi.
Welcome back. A fuel shortage in Kenya is leading matatu operators to ground their vehicles. The shortage of fuel is causing a hike in prices, particularly in the capital, Nairobi. Reports suggest that matatu operators have had to wait for hours to fill their vehicles, with many petrol stations running out of petrol and diesel. The worst affected region is Western Kenya. According to experts, the shortage could take 3 weeks to stabilize and fuel supplies to return to normal. Some petrol stations also implemented a fuel cap per customer. In what has been hailed as a major breakthrough, South Sudan's rival leaders have sealed an agreement on a key military provision for their stuttering peace deal. President Salva Kiir and his rival Vice President Riek Machar agreed on the creation of a unified armed forces command, one of several crucial unresolved issues holding up implementation of the 2018 deal to end the country's bloody 5-year civil war. Minister of Presidential Affairs Barnaba Mariam Benjamin hailed the deal signed following mediation by neighboring Sudan as a necessary step that opens a route for the stable government of the Republic of Sudan. 1 week after gunmen attacked a train with explosives in northwestern Nigeria, the whereabouts of 168 passengers are still unknown, the Nigerian Railway Corporation (NRC) says. At least 8 people were killed and many others missing on March 28th when gunmen detonated a bomb on the tracks and opened fire on the train linking the capital Abuja with the northwestern city of Kaduna. In a statement, the NRC said of the 362 passengers on board the train when it was attacked, 186 had been confirmed safe. The NRC said of the remaining 176 passengers, 8 have been confirmed dead, leaving the whereabouts of 168 still unknown. Football World Governing Body FIFA's latest Coach Educators Development Program has taken place in Senegal, with the national side's head coach Aliou Cissé tasked with the responsibility of helping the raise African coaching standards. Some of the modules taught in the program included sessions dedicated to theory, practice, and reflection. FIFA had said the education program forms a key part of its effort to improve the standard of football around the world. After the dissolution of parliament and an increase in tensions between the military and the Khan government, Pakistan is gearing up for a tense political battle. In a dramatic move on Sunday, Pakistani President Arif Alvi dissolved the country's parliamentary assembly on the advice of the country's Prime Minister Imran Khan, essentially taking the country one step closer to early elections. The twist is the latest in a long-brewing political battle that had pitted Khan against a vote of no confidence introduced by the country's combined opposition parties, and which, until Sunday, the Prime Minister looked certain to lose. Economist Rodrigo Chavez, a right-wing former finance minister, has won a runoff presidential election in Costa Rica amid rising unemployment and soaring budget deficit. Chavez, whose ascent to the runoff race surprised many, won comfortably with 53% of the vote to centrist former President Jose Maria Figueres' 47%. Sweden recommended a fourth COVID-19 vaccine dose to people 65 and over, as well as those living in nursing homes or getting home care. The new guideline drops the age from an earlier recommendation for a fourth shot to people 80 and older. The recommendation also includes fourth shots for those between 18 to 64 with moderate to severe immune deficiency, Sweden's public health agency said in a statement. Moscow faced a new wave of revulsions and accusations of war crimes Monday after the Russian pullout from the outskirts of Kiev revealed streets strewn with corpses of what appeared to be civilians, some of whom had seemingly been killed deliberately at close range. The images of battered bodies out in the open or in hastily dug graves also led to calls for tougher economic sanctions against the Kremlin, namely a cutoff of fuel imports from Russia. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky left the capital Kiev for his first reported trip since the war began nearly 6 weeks ago to see for him what he called the genocide and war crimes in the town of Bucha, the site of some of the horrors. European leaders and the United Nations Human Rights Chief condemned the bloodshed, some of them also branding it genocide, and US President Joe Biden said Russian President Vladimir Putin should face a war crime trial.
Economic news is a regular feature on Radio Imanzi.
Moving on ahead, Rwanda Stock Exchange Market Report. The trading session recorded a total turnover of 1,062,500 Rwandan francs from 8,500 shares traded in 2 deals on the equities market, while the fixed income market remained quiet. Bradgwa closed the counter at 125 Rwandan francs. The trading session recorded a total turnover of 1,062,500 Rwandan francs from 8,500 shares traded in 2 deals. Bank of Kigali closed the counter at 249 Rwandan francs, I&M Bank at 45 Rwandan francs, Simerwa at 120 Rwandan francs, MTN Rwanda at 180 Rwandan francs, Equity Bank at 440 Rwandan francs, Kenya Commercial Bank at 370 Rwandan francs, National Media Group at 1,200 Rwandan francs, Utri Supermarket at 104 Rwandan francs, and RH Buffalo closed the counter at 526 Rwandan francs as the market closed. The currency market review of today. The Kenyan shilling buy price was 8.7 Rwandan francs and the selling price was 8.9 Rwandan francs. The Tanzanian shilling buy price was 0.43 Rwandan francs and the selling price was 0.44 Rwandan francs. Ugandan shilling buy price was 0.28 Rwandan francs and the selling price was 0.287 Rwandan francs. Burundian franc buying price was 0.49 Rwandan francs and the selling price was 0.5 Rwandan francs. The US dollar buying price was 1,008 Rwandan francs and the selling price was 1,028 Rwandan francs. The British pound buying price was 1,322 Rwandan francs and the selling price was 1,349 Rwandan francs. The euro buying price was 1,114 Rwandan francs and the selling price was 1,136 Rwandan francs. Today's weather forecast from the Rwanda Meteorology Department. From 6 in the evening to midnight, it is expected to be partly cloudy in all parts of the country. The average wind speed expected is of between 3 meters per second and 4 meters per second. From midnight to 6 in the morning, rain is expected in Bugesera, Nyanza, Ruhango, Rubavu, Nyabihu and Rutsiro districts, while the rest of the country is expected to be partly cloudy. The average wind speed expected is of between 3 meters per second and 4 meters per second. The minimum temperature is to be 11 degrees Celsius tomorrow morning in Nyabihu districts. With that, we come to the end of tonight's edition. I'm Fiona Umuganwa.